Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest transfer news. It's Transfer News Daily Live because the 7am show did not go ahead because of all the fan cams, so we thought we'd keep it back until a lunchtime show. So we've got lots to talk about, an update on Sancho, but also news coming out about James van der Beek. Who remembers him from Dawson's Creek? I don't want to wait. No one will know what I'm on about there. They'll think I'm weird. But Donny van der Beek from Ajax. This is coming from Mark Ogden in the SBN, saying that Manchester United want Donny van der Beek in the January transfer window from Ajax. Now, look, in a different mood, I would be, yes, this is exactly what we need. We lost Ander Herrera. He's the perfect replacement. He can play CDM, but he's more box to box. He can even play attacking midfielder. He's a Dutch player. He's got loads of experience, international, Champions League, tenacious, good on the ball, box to box, energetic. He's got that Dutch flair. Perfect for what United need in that midfield. All I can do is say tick, tick, tick. 22 years of age. Going to go to a big club and hopefully develop even more. Absolutely perfect signing, Donny van der Beek. Perfect. I would be over the moon with it, personally. But I can't be excited about this news. I can't be excited about this news because I just think, we've just been humiliated in the Manchester derby with some coaching that I don't think even a League One side would be happy with. And lo and behold, the morning after, we're linked to exactly the sort of player that we need in Donny van der Beek. And I can't get excited about it because I just don't believe it. And you know what I'm like about transfers. I've been doing this for 5 years and I get very enthusiastic about transfer news. But I just don't believe this story. I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe Manchester United. And I don't believe that they would do something as competent as this. He hasn't got a British passport. We've not been linked to him at all. We've spoken about him a lot on this channel. A lot of you've spoken about Van der Beek. I've mentioned him. He's perfect for what we need because he can play all three midfield positions. He can play the holding role, he can play box to box, and he can play more attacking. 22, loads of development in him, cultured on the ball. There's always an element of risk, of course. Players have come in from Holland before and not done well. Players have come in from Holland and done fantastically well. But he's perfect for United, and he's probably going to cost around 30 to 50 million, which is his value. He is a good player. And I would love to get him. But as Mojo says, we keep getting linked to all these players. But honestly, how many of them really want to play under our coaching staff? That might be a problem as well. Welcome to Naga Delta, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Oran O'Brien says, it's false news. The club are leaking it out again. And I don't know whether the club are leaking it out. Look, the club are very, very vocal that they don't leak transfer news out. And I can tell you that officially. The club say they don't leak transfer news out. But then when they have their shareholders meeting, they talk about how good transfer news is in relation to traction on their social media. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? They say they don't do it, but then they benefit from it. So, but look, that's the story this morning. Van der Beek to Manchester United for 30 to 50 million pounds, probably closer to 50 million pounds, 22. Box-to-box midfielder, exactly what we need, and this deal can happen in January. That's the story. I've got lots more to talk about Ollie and transfers and Sancho and stuff, but in relation to Van der Beek, I've got to say, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it because I think with a player like Van der Beek as well, it's not like Samare or Jedson Fernandez, who their clubs are probably looking to sell them on. I don't think Ajax are desperate to sell Van der Beek, and I think also he's the sort of quality player, bit like Wan-Bissaka, bit like Harry Maguire, but bit like Erling Haaland. He's a quality player that United, if we were going to sign him, there'd be some build-up to signing him, and we haven't had any build-up. It just feels like a paper story to me. Unfortunately, it just feels like a paper story. So I don't believe that we're in for Van der Beek, but I will say this, I would absolutely love to sign him. It would be an enthusiastic signing. It would be a morale-boosting signing. It would be the sort of signing that we need. Welcome to Elvin Motavac, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Somebody saying Ollie's been sacked. Look, it's funny, isn't it, that we wake up from that last night and I feel depressed. I do feel depressed. I think any United fan who's not hurting this morning is... I don't know why you wouldn't be. That's... it's not Liverpool. It's not our biggest game. That's coming up in 2 weeks. But it's Manchester City coming to Old Trafford and beating us in our own backyard, and they should have been 5 or 6-0 up at half-time. And when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer comes out and says, we won the second half, and they're talking to him. I saw the MUTV interview, and they're saying, "What did you do in the second half?" Like he came out, like he reinvented the wheel and solved world peace. Like, what did you do special in the second half, Ollie? Oh, well, it was about effort and getting, playing with pride and winning the second half, which we did. Then you get Kyle Walker saying, we've had a really busy time over Christmas. The game was won at half time, so second half was just about taking the foot off the pedal, scoring if we can, but keeping hold of the ball. I mean, it just totally contradicts. Like, you can't come and claim that we won the second half when Man City visibly... And then you've got their players admitting that they took their foot off the gas. Like, it's just like, meh. But look, no, there is no prospect of Ollie being sacked. I've already tweeted this morning. I mean, people saying Ollie out. I mean, I think that Ollie, Carrick, McKenna, I don't even think they are League One class coaches. I think they've been exposed as being woefully out of depth. I can't believe a lot of what happened last night. Watch my match reaction. I thought it was quite a good tactical discussion between all of us, but I thought some of it was just so basic. It really exposed. And I think there's a lot of United fans this morning who love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer like me, but are waking up to the reality that no matter how much you love him, he ain't a coach. And that's the problem United have. But Ole didn't appoint himself. Carrick didn't appoint himself. They didn't ask to have hands tied behind the back in relation to the board not giving them the players they need. The big problem at United is the board. That's what I say, and that's what I've always said. Nayagan says, I feel that now United are losing because of Ollie more than just the players. Ollie to blame more than the players. What's your say on this? I can't move away from the fact that yesterday it was absolutely appalling. Ricky Mason says, I was sat behind Ollie last night, 3-0 down, and he goes down to the pitch to berate the fourth official about Guardiola being out of his technical area. We're 3-0 down, mate. Well, I don't know whether that's true, Ricky. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I do feel that... I mean, look, Ollie's come out and spoken about transfers. I'll talk about Ollie again in a moment, but he said that... I don't know why he does this. I mean, God, Shady's talking about World War III being the best thing to happen to United at the moment. We don't want any of that, not even as a joke. But Ollie was asked about transfers last night, and again he said, if it isn't right, the money's there, but if it isn't the right thing, we won't do anything. And I do feel in relation to that statement, it's very similar to what he said about the summer. The money was there, but it was about the right player. And we're saying the same thing again. The money's there, but it's about the right player. And there is a fear, apparently, in Manchester United that they don't want to make the mistakes of the past and spend money on the wrong player. But this is odd, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's only been in here a year, and I think we all pretty much agree that the money that he spent has been on the right player. It wasn't enough. We needed midfielders. Harry Maguire was the right signing. Wan-Bissaka, Dan James, no problem with that. So why is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer confined by the mistakes of the past when he wasn't even here? But he has said this twice now in both transfer windows. The money's there. It's about the right player. But we've just talking about Donny van der Beek, Bruno Fernandes, Thomas Partey. There are plenty of midfielders out there that are better than what we've got. I mean, look, Mark Noble on loan is better than what we've got. So you can't say the money's there, but if the right player isn't, we're not going to go for it, because you're just hiding behind a lie. Because there is players out there that are the right players, because it's not like if you're Liverpool and Klopp comes out and says the money's there, but it's got to be the right player, you can sort of understand that their ceiling is very high. So they might be looking for an Mbappe or a Sancho who's not available in January. But Manchester United's ceiling's so low, it's in the bloody cellar. And the right player, there's hundreds of them, and this is what frustrates me, and I hope I can get this across properly. When Solskjaer is saying the money's there, but it's about the right player, but the right player, there's hundreds of them. There's probably players in the Championship that can do better than ours. Our midfield is rubbish. We've got no attacking depth. So it's not about the right player. There are loads of players. You can't have a tiny little road. You can't stay in one lane when it's a 4-lane motorway. Like, there's loads of options. There's loads of ways to get past this obstacle. And I think it's just an excuse. And I don't know why I think the only reason Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying the money's there, it's about the right player, and taking the pressure himself, is because he wants to keep them happy so they don't sack him. I was listening to Andy Goldstein on TalkSport last night saying that he isn't angry, he's just upset now. I think that is how 99.9% of our fans feel now, says Jordan Such. Yeah, because I think we've had I think Andy Goldstein was right, and you're right, Jordan. I think we've moved past the frustration and the anger. I mean, obviously when you're watching a game and a goal goes in, you get angry because that's instantaneous match. When you're not watching a match, your mood moves a little bit because And, I think in my match reaction last night, if that had been a year ago, 2 years ago, I probably would have been ranting for 5-10 minutes. I didn't rant last night. I just looked at it and went, as you've just said there, it's so bad, it's sad. Initially, Ollie's positivity was refreshing after Mourinho's shameful behaviour. However, it's now really bothering me. He's a Man United man. How can he be so delusional by the situation, says Gordon Murray. You know what? I'm a fan of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and nothing will ever change that. He is a legend of this club, but he's a legend of this club as a football player. As a manager, I have to be blunt, and this is not disrespectful. I think some people think you can't criticise Ollie, and you can't criticise Carrick, and you can't criticise McKenna. As coaches, at this moment in time, I don't know who would employ them. It is that bad. They're just not. They're no good. We're zonal defending on corners. We're doing short corners when we have one that don't go in. Did you notice that over the last few games? We've started doing these short corner routines that don't end up doing anything. We actually end up losing possession and they're attacking us. Just the very basics of as a coaching setup is awful. And I think what we may be starting to see as well is the players becoming disillusioned. We know the players love Ollie and they've been backing him, and we've heard McTominay a month ago, but you only do it for so long before not all footballers are stupid is what I'm trying to say. And they'll be aware of what's going on the pitch. They'll realise that they are getting schooled by teams that they should be beating. They'll realise that they're not creating anything and we're not playing well. And it doesn't matter how much you love the manager, the human nature will be to blame somebody for why you're failing. And I don't know whether last night we started to see tiredness because they're being overplayed and disillusionment. I mean, look, Marcus Rashford last night, he's one of our best players. He was captain last night and he played his worst game for United. Now, is that the pressure of the captaincy, or is it more likely the pressure of playing non-stop, week in, week out, 3 games a week for the last 6 months? He just didn't have the legs to help Brandon Williams, who was getting double teamed. Kyle Walker kept running past Brandon Williams and getting the ball. Rashford should have been tracking him and he never did. So, starting to see it in the players now. Pablo Ortega says, can't believe transfer news nowadays. If we don't sign no one, forget about top 4 and all other competitions. Well, let's bring it back to transfer news. A couple of things about players going out. But Jadon Sancho, this is coming from Sky Germany, that Jadon Sancho will not be leaving Dortmund this January transfer window. I think this is something that I said about a month ago. Why would he leave? Why would he leave? He's in the Champions League. Dortmund have got a chance of winning the Bundesliga. He's doing very well for Dortmund. The little fallout at the start of the season's over. Why would they? They'll just sell him in the summer. The only thing I thought was maybe there would be a bit like Pulisic, where they sell the player but then they stay at the club till the summer. So that could have happened. But I mean, in a way, if you want Sancho to come to United, which I think is highly unlikely, this is the best news ever, because there's no way he's coming to us at the moment. You've got to look at it. We look at it with red-tinted glasses because we love Manchester United. Take that away, why would any player come to this club at the moment? Because when you look at it, you could come to the club and think, well, things might change, they might start spending some money, they might get a better manager in. But that's not the message coming out of United. The message coming out of United is, we desperately need players, we're not buying any, so we're not spending money. And although we probably do need new manager, we're going to stick by with this one. So if you're a player, why would you come to United when they're not spending any money and they're going to stick with this current coaching setup? Why would you come? Why would you come? You've got to put your career first. Look at how Andreas attacked his man on the second goal. He gave his player a clear lane to the goal and the pass. That's coaching. Ollie is to be blamed, says Denver. I cannot defend Ollie or the coaches yesterday. I said it in my match reaction. That first 45 minutes, we may as well have put a bag of cement or 4 bags of cement on the coaching seats, because they would have made more changes. Like, there was no response to that. It was awful, and I would like to find something from yesterday to say that was good. But putting Jones up next to Brandon Williams was a disaster. Sticking with 2 holding midfielders when they had 4 midfielders in our midfield was a disaster. Not changing it, disaster. It was awful. I think Pogba has played his last game for us. He's recovering from the recent surgery, will take about 5 weeks. A further 3 weeks to be match fit. That's 2 months. Surely he will protect himself to keep himself fit for the Euros, says Mojo. I've always said I think we'll see Pogba playing again. Chuck in Bangkok says, looks to me like players are getting ready to jump ship. We are in trouble. And Gordon Murray says, the issue now is we can't break down the left lesser teams because they defend, and now the top teams have figured out how to beat us. We won't win many more matches like this. Well, I said that if we don't make any signings in the January transfer window, this season will just fall away. And it will. It will. It's going to fall away. And the problem now is the Carabao Cup is over. That's gone. But we've still got to play that second leg and have a go. So it's 90 minutes of a big game and a lot of effort for nothing. So that's sapping our squad. We've got Wolves next week, which becomes more important because the FA Cup is probably going to be one of our last chances to win a trophy. You've got Liverpool after that. We've got to beat Norwich and Burnley this month just to get the points and try and cling on to a fight for top 4, because it's not looking good for United at the moment, is it? It really isn't. Interesting on the goings out, there's a story. I mean, I don't even headline this. I wouldn't even put him in the title. But Ashley Young to Inter Milan is a story that's floating around a little bit at the moment. Apparently, I mean, it's coming from Fabrizio Romano, who's very, very good with his Italian transfer news. And Ashley Young is apparently open to this move. I would do it. I would let him go. I mean, I think if Ashley Young goes in January, we'd probably get some money for it. But apparently Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is saying we can't afford to lose any more players because the squad's so thin. But I think in relation to Ashley Young, you've got Shaw and Williams on the left-hand side. You've got Dalot and Wan-Bissaka on the right-hand side. I'll be more than happy if Ashley Young never plays a game for us again. He's been a decent player for us, but I would let him go. I would let him go, but I don't think we will. It's a bit like Matic. I know we've got no midfield options, but I'd still let him go because long-term, if we're rebuilding, we're rebuilding. But definitely in the case of Young, we've got more than enough options that we can play. You've got Ethan Laird, who can play at right back as well. I would let him go, but apparently the club aren't going to let him go. If people want to pay money for Ashley Young, you bloody take the deal, don't you? That's what I think. There's also talk of Lingard going to AC Milan. I'll talk about that in a moment. But Naga Dalta says, "Hi Mark, last match in between Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri versus Fred, Pereira and Lingard. There is only one winner between them. And Ollie is best. We got to know what's important for United." Okay. Mark, if he doesn't sign anyone in January, are you finally Ollie out? Says Nayagan. If he doesn't sign anybody in January, I can't see how he stays in a job anyway, because I can't see how we're going to win enough games. I think the squad morale's on the floor. I think the squad is exhausted. I think they're badly coached. I can't see how we're going to get good results between now and the end of the season if we don't sign some players. But having said that, I don't know that United have any appetite to sack him either. Magic Eye, now we linked to everybody does distracting tactics. We'll probably sign a very disappointing player, but have thousands of links to get fans excited. Those joining us a little bit late, Donny van der Beek linked to Manchester United this morning through ESPN and Mark Ogden. I don't believe this story. I think if United were in for Van der Beek, there'd be a lot more of a fanfare around it because it's a big signing. I'd definitely like to sign him. I do think this is morning after a terrible result. Let's put a story out to get people excited. But to be honest with you, from what I'm seeing in the live comments and what I'm seeing on social media, people aren't falling for it anymore. They're like, we've just been humiliated against one of our biggest rivals last night and you're putting some story out that's just not going to happen. It doesn't work anymore. We've had this for years with Ronaldo and Bale. If he holds the shirt up, I'll celebrate, but I don't believe it. I think it's way too much of a competent signing for United to do, and I do think it's about distracting from the shit show that is Manchester United at the moment, and the real question of when are you going to make some significant changes to that football club. Surely it's time for Poch to come in. He knows the Premier League and is known for improving young players and would also bring in a whole new coaching setup, says Damien Landy. I don't know. SCT Gamer says United aren't going to sign anyone. I just hope we sign some new starters, says Kanga Beast. Mark, surely if Ollie doesn't sign any players, he is confident that he will keep his job no matter how we perform, says Daniel Darga. I don't know in relation to that. I mean, look, I did hear yesterday that, Lingard and AC Milan rumours, and apparently the rumour that's going around a bit now is that Lingard wants to get Mino Raiola so that he can get a move out of Manchester United because he's annoyed that Manchester United were offered him as part of a deal for James Maddison. Now, there's a lot of speculation in that. Personally, I don't think how that story about 40 million plus Lingard for James Maddison has to be a joke. So I don't necessarily think that's true. If it's true, but knowing Man United, it could be true. So if Lingard is then throwing his toys out the pram because United have tried to sell him for Maddison, and he's now going to get Mino Raiola in because he knows the club don't like Raiola to get a move out of United. Again, it's flawed because you can get the best agent in the world. You're still Jesse Lingard. Who's going to buy you? But the most important thing here is, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, Jesse Lingard should never have played last night. It's arguable Jesse Lingard should not have been picked for most games this season, but he still keeps getting picked. He has had more chances than a cat. A cat has 9 lives, sort of works. So Jesse Lingard, any United fan would say this, no matter what. He should not be starting games. He doesn't deserve to start. How can you pick a player in a number 10 who didn't get any goals or assists in the Premier League last year? You shouldn't be picking him. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown an obsessively naive standing by of that player. He's stuck by him ridiculously. He doesn't deserve the amount of chances he's had. So for Jesse Lingard to go, they're trying to sell me, so I'm going to go and get Mino Raiola in, it's quite ungrateful, really. Because as much as I do not agree with Lingard being picked for United, and I think it's almost unfair on Lingard, I would have dealt with Lingard in a different way. I would have took him out of the, when he came out with the problems that he was having, I would have said, take 3 weeks off, just get away from football, sort yourself out, and then we'll go from there. But Ollie's decision was to keep playing him when he was playing badly, and he's actually got worse. It would have been genius if it had worked, but it hasn't. So I think that I feel sorry for Lingard in that sense. But then again, lots of people have issues, and he's fortunate to be in a situation where he doesn't have to worry about money and stuff like that. But with regards to Ollie and Lingard, if Lingard is unhappy that United have tried to sell him, I'm sorry, mate. I think you've had way more chances. In fact, I think if you weren't from the youth setup in English, you'd have been sold in the summer. So you've been given more than enough opportunity by this manager who stood by you. I think it's a bit disrespectful if he is trying to get a move out because we tried to sell him. But, I don't know whether that's true. 617,000 Woodward out. Hashtag may bring new players in, says Denvar Mawati. They may do. Apparently, Harry Maguire will be out of the Norwich game as well. That came from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last night. Which is obviously disappointing. And there's another story going around about James Maddison saying that Maddison is not going to move in January. I mean, some of this is just logical, it's straightforward common sense. The Man United squad is shockingly thin. How to solve it, says Mr. Mitz. I have the answer to this. It's my answer to this, and I've said it for a while, and I'm not proud of it. But the answer to this is to sell the deadwood and buy about 10 new players, which you can't do in one transfer window. Which is why not buying midfielders last year is always going to hurt us, because we've got a big job to do. But we have got to spend our way out of this, and I know people don't like that, but you've got to spend your way out of this. There's no way we're getting out of this and getting back on top without spending our way out. But that's because of the mistakes of the last 6 years. You can't say this is the worst situation we've ever been in the Premier League era, which it easily is, and then say you've got to take drastic action to get out of it. I mean, if you look at Man City before they were invented in 2007, they were just a shit club. And then they got loads of money, and now they're one of the best clubs in the world. So Manchester United at the moment, we're a shit club. In 10 years, we might be back on top of the world if we spend our way out of it. But the great thing is, unlike needing oil money, we actually generate our own money. So why should we be guilty about spending our way out of it? The problem is, we can spend our way out of it, but the people in charge of that are people who bought us on debt and want to take that money for themselves. They're running us like a business, not a football club. We do need to spend our way out of it. And it needs to be significant money. It needs to be hundreds of millions of pounds. That is how we get out of this mess. And you need to get rid of people like Phil Jones, Ashley Young, Matic, Lingard. These players need to go. And I thought Matic did well yesterday, but long term, we know he's not good enough and he's getting on. These players need moving out, and you need to bring in 10 players. And it will take time, but we've not even started doing it properly yet. And we haven't even got the right people to do it yet. So it is going to take a lot of money. But this is why I always say, getting rid of Ollie is too simplistic. The owners, the board, the structuring of the club, the coaching, the fitness staff, the recruitment staff, the playing staff. There's so much that needs to be done. Changing a manager's never going to be able to do that. A manager's powerless to do a lot of that. So it's change at the top and all the way down, and we ain't seeing that changing at all. And you know what? I must just say this as well. I know there's a lot of toxicity and division in the fan base at the moment, but I've got to say, if United fans don't want to see Glazers out or Woodward out, That is their right. They don't have to do that. I heard a lot of people saying yesterday, oh, you know what, people have a pop at fan channels, but they're in the ground and they're not singing about the Glazers and the Woodwards. But that's their right. That is that they don't have to do that. They can sing what they bloody well like. It's up to them to do that. What the problem is when they then come out and have a moan at people who are on fan channels having their say. And all these people say, well, you know, fan channels are negative, blah, blah, blah. But fan channels are the only ones who are actually giving any fan a voice. Like, all these other organisations, whatever they are and whatever they do, are they giving the fans a voice? The United Stand gives the fans a voice. And anybody's welcome to come on and say, I don't agree with it for this reason, that reason. They might have something really interesting to say that makes us think. I've certainly, this last week, thought a lot about things. And I think that people on our fan cams sometimes are not right. You know, they're attacking United fans. And I don't agree with it. Because, you know, it's all right to defend your opinion. But to start attacking each other, I don't agree with that. And I also think that it's not helping. The thing that annoys me the most is people keep saying, how do United improve this situation? You've got to look at the top of the club and all the way down. Fans arguing amongst themselves doesn't help anything. It just brings more issues on the club. The problem with Manchester United is on the pitch. And what happens on the pitch is reflected on the terrace and around the world in the United fan base. If they play well there, then the fan base becomes a lot more happy. And that's what I want to see. Donny van de Beek and Calvin Phillips and our suddenly midfield look strong, says Martin. I mean, look, for me, Bruno Fernandes, Donny van de Beek, Emre Can, those sort of signings are what we should be looking at. Juventus are in advanced talks with Chong, apparently. Well, that's going to be embarrassing if that happens. I'll certainly do a video on that if it happens. But yeah, please do smash a like on the video. I think Hassan's alright. I said it last night. Enough is enough. But how do you make anything happen? I mean, we're being very vocal, and when I say we, the collective we. You know, the United Stand's definitely doing its bits on social media and that. You know, fighting back against a lot of the crap that's being put out there about us. You know, but ultimately trying to push people towards let's look at what's happening at the club instead of attacking each other. But I don't see anything happening. I mean, look, we've just... somebody said this to me this morning. Do you think if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't a United legend and a puppet of the Woodwards and that, he would be still in a job this morning? No, I think Mourinho would be gone. And the interesting thing is, Mourinho got sacked for losing to Liverpool. If we lose to Liverpool a week on Sunday, or a week on Saturday, will Ole still be in job the next day? I think he will do. But we sacked a manager for that. So... the club is rudderless and it's run badly, and for me it's not really about Ollie and the coaches anymore. It's about what's going on above. You know, you could sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today, you could bring Pochettino in tomorrow. I would still sit here and go, I don't have the enthusiasm when Van Gaal, Mourinho and even Ollie got the job that I do now. You know, we could appoint Klopp, we could appoint Pep, Zidane tomorrow and sack Ollie, and I would not be enthusiastic because I would be like, they're good coaches, but if they're going to get the same treatment as the last four, we'll be sacking them in a year. Nagadalta says, we need to get Van der Sar more than players and managers. We need someone good to oversee. Doesn't matter who the manager is. Love, Mark and Flex from Australia. Thanks for that, mate. I think this is it. The problem is higher up, and they are totally keeping Ollie in a job, I believe, to protect themselves, because a lot of people respect Ollie, myself included, and love him. So they don't want to be too vocal in their dissatisfaction and anger, but that shields the people who are really in charge, who are really causing the problems. And I just wish they would, you know, as I say, enough is enough. Where's the change? Are you going to put your hand in the pocket? Are you going to, you know, get us a Van der Beek, get us a Bruno Fernandes? I tell you what, if United went and bought Van der Beek and Bruno Fernandes in the next 2 weeks, I would sit back and go, right, well, they're two really good players. Now let's sit back and see what happens over the next 6 months. Let's see if with those quality players and some squad depth, Ollie can actually get something going, or if in 6 months he can't, well, we've got two good players, you get rid of him. But if you're just going to continue down the same road with the same players, we're not going to see anything improve, and you're just going to keep frustrating. Fans are going to stop buying stuff, fans are going to stop watching, share prices are going to drop. Enough is enough. Something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. It's not for the fans to do that. You bought the club. Edward would help them do it. He runs the bloody club. You can't just sit on your hands or sit like Woodward was last night like that. You've got to be proactive. I think if any one of us were chief executive today, we would be being proactive. Like, do something. I expect something to be done. Do something. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you all soon.